Cyan Vert recalls his father's words, "Live for the clan." Those words shaped his life, forcing him to suppress his own desires and live only to serve his brother. Cyan kneels, wounded and exhausted, his body trembling as he struggles to stay upright after a brutal clash. Footsteps echo closer, towering above him with a twisted smile, calling the sight of Cyan's defeat priceless. Cyan Vert grits his teeth, blood dripping down his face, barely able to lift his head. His strength is fading, but his will hasn't broken yet. Across the battlefield, armored knights whisper in awe. One man, fighting against the continent's most powerful commanders, all alone. A tall figure steps forward, confident and amused, smirks down at him, calling it impressive, just what he'd expect from that man's brother. Cyan Vert's eyes flare with anger and disbelief as he looks up. He calls out the name of the man standing before him, Boris. Boris grins wide, his expression twisted and mocking, clearly enjoying Cyan's suffering. Cyan grips his blade tightly, crimson energy flaring to life around it. His voice cuts through the chaos, demanding, "Who made you do this?" as his power surges with deadly intent. Cyan Vert raises his glowing crimson blade, rage and power intertwining as black and red energy swirl around him. His voice cuts through the chaos. "Was it the Emperor?" Boris staggers back, shielding himself from the shockwave. He sneers through the blood, calling Cyan's power the sickening black fog, realizing the truth behind the rumors. Cyan's aura erupts like a storm, tearing through the ground as the black mist engulfs him. Boris glares at him in disbelief. Cyan Vert, the assassin from Mist. Boris smirks, explaining that Mist is nothing but an opposing force to their Knights of Light. He vows to report to his superiors that he's eliminated an impure being tied to the heathens. Cyan Vert doesn't flinch. His blade hums with dark energy as he fires back, telling Boris to go ahead, if he still has a mouth left when this is over. He promises to shatter him so completely he won't even have a tooth remaining. Boris steadies himself, a faint glow surrounding him as he warns Cyan. If Cyan dares to use his secret power, it'll be useless here. There's already a 9th star magic barrier cast over the battlefield. Boris realizes how dire the situation is. Watching Cyan Vert's overwhelming power distort the air, he thinks to himself, he needs to escape and report this, to uncover whoever orchestrated this with his brother. Cyan's eyes glow crimson as he snarls, "A barrier?" He tightens his grip on the blade, energy crackling around him. "I'll just tear it to bits." Before he can strike, a commanding voice echoes through the chaos. "That's enough, Cyan." Boris lowers his head, relief and fear mixing in his eyes as a new figure steps forward, the heavy clank of armor echoing through the air. Cyan Vert freezes, his burning rage dimming for a moment as he looks up in confusion, unsure who just intervened. The words of his father echo in his mind. "Live for the clan. Your brother Askell is the clan." The memory burns as Askell Vert, the golden son of the Duke's family, appears before him. The very brother Cyan was told to serve like a shadow. Cyan Vert's breath catches as realization strikes. The one behind it all stands before him. The culprit behind this was, he whispers, eyes widening. His voice breaks. Askell, the golden armor, the composed face, his own brother, Askell Vert, stands alongside Boris, radiating authority and betrayal. Cyan drops to one knee, the strength leaving his body. The blade trembles in his grasp as the truth crashes down. The brother he trusted more than anyone was the reason for it all. Askell Vert's calm voice breaks the silence. "You seem confused that I'm here." His tone is cold, almost mocking, as he steps closer. The two brothers face each other, Askell standing tall in his golden armor, while Cyan Vert kneels, his crimson aura fading into the dust. Cyan stares up at him, disbelief and betrayal mixing in his voice. "What is the meaning of this?" Askell Vert looks down at his brother with that same composed, almost gentle expression. "Cyan, you've carried out your duties well," he says, his tone calm but distant. For the clan, for the people. Cyan's breath catches as Askell finishes the sentence. For me. The words hit harder than any blade, twisting in his chest. Askell steps forward, his shadow falling over Cyan. Therefore, he says coldly, I'm just trying to take the burden off your shoulders. Cyan Vert's grip on his sword tightens as confusion floods his face. His voice trembles. I don't understand. Did I do something wrong? Askell Vert narrows his eyes coldly. Wrong, he repeats, his tone sharp and emotionless. He looks down at Cyan, disdain in his voice. That ominous fog. You're nothing more than a murderer now. I can't even call you human anymore. Cyan kneels in silence, his heart breaking under the weight of those words. Askell Vert's composure finally cracks. He yells, "You've fooled us for long enough." His voice echoes across the battlefield. Can you really say you don't know your sins? Cyan Vert lowers his head, his voice trembling as he repeats, "Murderer, my sins." His mind reels, unable to understand his brother's words. His eyes flare red with rage and confusion. What the hell is he talking about? He thinks, the crimson energy around him surging like a storm ready to break loose. Images flash through Cyan Vert's mind. The Empire's bloody succession war, hands clawing for the crown. Then the Demon King's army, an endless horde surging forward under a crimson sky. The great war that aimed to unify the continent. Every victory built on his silent blade in the dark. Cyan's voice cracks as he glares up at Askell Vert. I helped you achieve all that you began. His fist slams into the ground, blood and fury mixing in his voice. Because serving you was my life. Cyan Vert's aura erupts again, flames of rage swirling around him as his voice breaks. But now, you're abandoning me? His eyes blaze crimson, veins pulsing with fury. I worked like a dog for 20 years under you, he roars, every word burning with betrayal. Blood drips from his body as his knees tremble, but his will refuses to bend. It doesn't matter if my entire body breaks down. Cyan's gaze sharpens into pure determination. I'll give everything I have right now. Cyan Vert's fury explodes into a blinding red storm. If it means I can destroy you, he roars, his power shaking the ground beneath them. The surrounding soldiers panic, eyes wide in fear. He still has that much mana left. That's impossible, one shouts. Another screams, that's no human. Cyan laughs bitterly, his voice dark and filled with resentment. How silly, he mutters under his breath. He raises his burning blade, his eyes glowing like crimson fire. The hero is trying to kill his younger brother because he's afraid, Cyan says coldly. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Askell Vert's expression tightens, his jaw clenching in anger, but he remains silent, the tension between the brothers reaching its breaking point. Cyan Vert launches forward, his crimson aura blazing like fire, closing the distance in a flash of rage-fueled speed. The battlefield erupts as Cyan and Askell clash, red energy colliding with divine light, shaking the very ground beneath them. Cyan Vert dashes forward like a crimson comet, his body blazing with rage and bloodlust. Just once, he growls through clenched teeth. Askell Vert raises his blade, golden energy surging around him. Once is enough, he shouts, meeting Cyan's charge head-on. Cyan swings his weapon with all his strength, his glowing red eyes locked on Askell. The air cracks apart as their powers collide in a blinding explosion. Cyan Vert grits his teeth, thinking fast, if I can stab his weak point so that he can't regenerate. He dives from above, crimson energy bursting from his body as he aims his strike straight at Askell Vert. Cyan's eyes widen in shock. Something interrupts his attack. Golden magic circles flare to life around Askell. Cyan snarls, damn it, Boris, as the priest channels divine energy, protecting Askell with a radiant barrier. Askell's voice cuts through the chaos, cold and heavy. You poor bastard. A blinding flash follows as Askell's sword strikes true, piercing Cyan's side with brutal precision, golden light tearing through the crimson aura. Cyan's cursed blade slips from his grasp, spinning through the air as blood splatters across the shattered ground. Askell Vert drives his sword deeper into Cyan, his expression cold and merciless. "I wanted to give you a painless death since you're my brother," he says, "but you've shown your true colors." Askell glares down at him, voice steady but filled with contempt. "I knew what you were from the start, a demon." Cyan, blood dripping down his face, stares up in disbelief. Askell's words hit harder than any blade. "It's a good thing I never trusted you to begin with." Cyan's eyes tremble, caught between rage and heartbreak. Askell Vert slams his armored boot into Cyan's chest, sending him crashing into the rubble with a brutal thud. Without a glance back, Askell sheathes his sword. "Let's go." Boris bows his head slightly, replying, "Yes, sir," as they both walk away, leaving Cyan bleeding on the cold ground. Cyan lies motionless among the shattered stones, his vision fading. His lips tremble as he mutters, "Damn it." Cyan lies broken on the ground, his voice weak as he stares at the sky. Is this my end? His vision blurs as regret floods his thoughts. What a foolish life I've led. His eyes slowly begin to close, a faint breath escaping his lips. "Stupid," he whispers, almost as if cursing himself. Askell pauses mid-stride, his cape fluttering behind him. His jaw tightens, but he doesn't turn back. Cyan suddenly bursts forward with a final surge of rage, his eyes glowing crimson. Askell's expression twists in shock. With a feral scream, Cyan channels everything left in him, his power erupting wildly as he rushes straight toward Askell. His blade flashes, a desperate strike aimed right at Askell's chest. But before it lands, a massive explosion of light detonates between them, hurling Cyan back violently across the shattered ground. A faint voice echoes in the darkness. "Young Master. Young Master Cyan." Cyan jolts awake, gasping for air, clutching at his chest as sweat drips down his face. His breathing is heavy, confusion written all over him. His maid leans over him with a scolding tone. "How long do you intend to sleep for? Get it together. You need to get ready, young master." Cyan stares at Emily in shock. "Emily, why are you here?" His voice trembles as memories of his past life rush through his mind. His eyes widen in disbelief. He can't comprehend what he's seeing. Everything feels too real. He studies her face, his thoughts racing. It's been 20 years. She hasn't changed at all. Emily tilts her head, frowning. "What are you talking about? Are you still dreaming?" Cyan glances around the room, his heart pounding. "This place, I remember it. It's the room I used to live in when I was younger." His eyes dart across the familiar walls and furniture. Everything's exactly the same. He suddenly freezes, hands trembling as he stares at his reflection in shock. "Wait, am I back to being a child?" Emily's voice cuts through his panic. "Young Master Cyan." Cyan looks up, eyes wide. Emily crosses her arms, glaring down at Cyan. "You're stalling because you don't want to go for training, huh?" Cyan looks up, confused. "Training?" He glances around the room again, still dazed. "What training?" A bright morning light shines over the castle rooftops, Vert Clan Duchy. Cyan steps outside, looking up at the familiar towers. Yeah, there's no doubt. This is the duchy from years ago. He frowns slightly, lost in thought. Is this what people mean when your life flashes before your eyes? The scene shifts to the grand courtyard of the Vert Clan Duchy, sunlight glinting off white marble walls. Servants and knights line up neatly as the sound of clashing steel echoes faintly. Cyan's thoughts. I remember this. 27 years ago. Foundation year 985, March 1st. It was a year before I entered the academy. Rows of knights prepare in formation while nobles and attendants stand by. Every year, the duchy holds a dual training session. The camera focuses on the noble seats. At the center sits Duke Vert, composed and regal. Beside him the Duchess and advisors. Cyan's thoughts. My father, Duke Vert, always presides over the event, which makes it a huge deal. Cyan's thoughts. My opponent, Krantz Vert. He stands tall with a confident grin, a maid behind him lowering her gaze respectfully. He's the same age as me, my half-brother. The scene shifts to a refined woman seated beside the Duke, her golden curls shining under the hall light. His mother, Margaret Erzith, the Duke's wife. Cyan thinks bitterly. Because of her, Krantz always got the spotlight, even though we were both the youngest. A younger Cyan trembles, gripping his sword with scraped knees and torn sleeves. Cyan's thoughts, I was the bastard son, and when I lost that duel, everyone laughed. From that day, I became the duchy's joke. Duke Vert stands tall, his back turned to young Cyan. Do not try anything. Cyan's thoughts. That duel. It's the reason father stopped looking at me altogether. Emily sighs, hand on her hips. Why don't you just surrender instead? Cyan frowns, gripping his rapier. It's fine. I just need to win. He exhales quietly. Even a maid's looking down on me now. Cyan glances at his weapon, his expression tightening. He thinks, it's just a rapier, but it feels so heavy. Emily's voice echoes faintly in the background. Don't get hurt, young master. He looks down at his small hands. Yeah, my strength really is the same as back then. Cyan grips the rapier tightly, his knuckles widening. This sensation, it's not a dream, and it's definitely not my life flashing before my eyes. I've never even heard of a spell powerful enough to make illusions this real. Cyan stares straight ahead, a bead of sweat sliding down his cheek. Am I really back in the past? Across the training yard, Krantz smirks, sword resting casually at his side. Well, you didn't run off this time, huh? Cyan's thought flashes across the scene. Then maybe I can change the future. He steadies his breath, determination settling into his eyes. The fear fades, replaced by quiet resolve. Duke Vert raises his hand, his voice firm and commanding. Let's begin. Krantz charges forward, his sword raised high, yelling, Where are you looking, you idiot? His grin twists with arrogance as he lifts his blade for a heavy strike. Ki-hee. Cyan doesn't even flinch, his expression calm and unimpressed. What? Is he a snail? Cyan takes a small step to the side, his movement sharp and precise. Krantz shouts, swinging his sword wildly. Yuo. Cyan barely moves, calmly watching Krantz's attack miss its mark completely. He's putting all his strength into that one swing. Krantz grits his teeth, swinging again. Dodging like a coward, Cyan twists his wrist effortlessly. His blade deflects Krantz's attack with a sharp clang. Without hesitation, Cyan steps in and kicks Krantz square in the ankle. Krantz's face contorts in pain, sweat dripping down as he groans through clenched teeth. Cook! Krantz collapses to the ground, clutching his leg and screaming, Whack! Margaret leaps up from her seat, panic flashing across her face. See Krantz! The Duke's eyes narrow, his jaw tightening, saying nothing. Cyan steps forward slowly, his expression cold and composed, the sunlight glinting off his blade. His eye glows faintly red as he thinks, if I just place my sword at his throat, this duel is over. Cyan's grip tightens around his sword, his knuckles turning white. But that's not enough. Flashback. Young Cyan lies on the floor, beaten, as Krantz smirks and kicks him again and again. When I was this age, Krantz used to bully me just for fun. Another memory surfaces, Krantz older now, still sneering, his voice echoing through Cyan's mind. That bullying, it didn't stop. It followed me to the academy, too. Cyan's eyes blaze red, his aura flaring with intensity. So, I need to crush him completely, so he'll never dare look down on me again. He steps closer to the trembling Krantz, his shadow falling over him. In this life, the background fades into mist as Cyan's thoughts echo powerfully. I'll carve my own path, this time for myself. Krantz's face twists in shock and fear as he's struck, eyes rolling back. He collapses to the floor, unconscious. The duel ends in his defeat. Cyan is summoned before the Duke, wondering quietly if his win was really that remarkable. Cyan walks alongside a tall, armored knight. Even a high-class knight, directly under the Duke, is escorting me. Up ahead, he spots Lady Margaret approaching with a maid, her expression cold and tense. Cyan smirks faintly. She must have been whining to him about her precious son. Aloud, he asks casually, "Is Krantz okay?" Margaret glares furiously, her voice trembling. "You dare ask that after beating your brother so brutally? How thick-skinned of you." Cyan smirks faintly and turns away. That's how duels work. See you. Yulkin follows as Margaret stiffens in disbelief. Her mutter cuts through the air. This is why bastards should never be treated like legitimate children. Cyan's expression hardens, his eyes shadowed. Margaret sneers cruelly, her words venomous. Like mother, like son, born from some filthy woman. You should be out begging for scraps instead of pretending to be noble. Cyan freezes, his eyes glowing red as fury consumes him. She's crossed the line. Darkness fills his mind as a chilling thought echoes. Should I kill her? Cyan's thoughts snap back, no. A cold smirk forms on his face. I know exactly how to make her suffer, slowly, piece by piece. He looks up at Margaret and says calmly, "You know I'll be attending the academy with Krantz, right?" Her eyes narrow. "What exactly is your point?" Cyan smirks, eyes glowing red. "I'm sure you'd want your son to graduate with all his limbs, right?" His tone drips with menace. "Guess you're not that worried about him." "Huh, Duchess." Margaret's face twists in rage. "You?" She explodes, shouting, "Vulgar piece of trash. How dare you talk to me like that?" and swings her hand toward him in rage. Before her slap can land, the knight swiftly steps in, catching her wrist. He bows slightly, his voice firm but calm. "I apologize, Duchess." The knight steps forward, tone calm but firm. The Duke has called for him with urgency. He glances toward Margaret. "So, I don't think we can delay any longer." Close-up of the knight's eyes, sharp and unyielding. "We'll get going now." Margaret freezes, fists clenched, her face tight with rage. The maid behind her looks uneasy, try to avoid eye contact. The air is tense, but the knight and Cyan are already walking away. Cyan smirks, his tone dripping with mockery. The Duke's orders are absolute. He walks beside the armored knight, thinking to himself, "I'm being protected by the Duke's personal guard, a knight who doesn't bow even to the Duchess." A small grin tugs at his lips. How dependable. The scene shifts to a quiet hallway. A soft knock echoes against the wooden door. From inside, a deep voice responds, "Come in." Cyan stands before the Duke's grand desk, the sunlight from the tall windows framing his father's imposing figure. He bows slightly. From Cyan, the youngest child of the House of Vert. He raises his head and greets quietly, "Greetings, father." His thoughts echo coldly. It's been nearly 15 years since we last met one-on-one. The Duke finally turns, his sharp eyes filled with power and authority. Duke Willius Vert, the great feudal lord of Velias, ruling the western territories of the Ushif Empire. "Have a seat," he says, voice firm and commanding. Narration flows softly. The world calls him by a different name. Guardian of the Continent. A powerful image of Duke Willius Vert in gleaming armor, standing beneath divine light. The hero who single-handedly halted the demon invasion for years. Scenes of brutal war flash by. Monsters crushed beneath radiant magic, soldiers rallying behind him. With unmatched strength and wisdom, he carried a burden no one asked him to bear, yet he never faltered. The narration continues until his final battle against the Demon King's army. His eyes reflect the light of the metal he once carried with pride. All he ever wanted was peace across the entire continent. The memory fades to the present. Cyan sits across from him, observing quietly. But my memories of him are different. He was a man who chose his own path. Cyan lowers his gaze slightly, his expression unreadable. A man who decided to live his whole life serving others. A faint, cold thought follows, a foolish man. Duke Willius studies Cyan with a sharp gaze, arms folded. "Your eyes precisely followed the sword and dodged it," he says calmly, as if dissecting a report. Cyan looks surprised. Huh? The Duke's words echo over a flashback. Krantz charges at Cyan, sword cutting through the air. The moment Krantz ran at you, you looked straight at the path of the swinging sword. Cyan's focused expression appears, his body twisting mid-swing as the blade grazes past him, and turned your body to dodge it perfectly. The Duke narrows his eyes, studying Cyan carefully. When did you learn how to wield a sword? He asks, his tone calm but probing. Cyan straightens a little, trying to keep his composure. As always, he's sharp. He answers evenly, I wouldn't say I learned it. I just practiced every night on my own. The Duke leans forward slightly, eyes glinting with curiosity. From what I know, you've never had any interest in swordsmanship, he says. Then, with a faint edge in his voice, he continues, why did you hide such excellent skills? Cyan lowers his head slightly, speaking with hesitation. I didn't really want to catch others' attention. The Duke crosses his arms, watching him intently. Despite that, you really went all out taking down Krantz. The Duke's hand suddenly rests on Cyan's head, his tone shifting. But his gaze sharpens, recalling the duel. The memory flashes, Cyan striking decisively, his sword cutting through with cold precision. Wasn't what you did after that unnecessary? Cyan's eyes narrow, a drop of sweat tracing his cheek. His intention behind that question seems probing. Is he trying to gauge what I'm capable of? He exhales and answers carefully, I wanted to prove myself. From across the table, the Duke raises an eyebrow. Prove? Prove what? Cyan meets his father's gaze, his voice steady. That I'm better than Krantz, even though we share the same blood. That's what I concluded as the meaning of the duel. Cyan flinches as his father suddenly bursts into laughter. Cuckoo. The Duke grins broadly, eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Excellent. A clear and concise answer that shows off your composure. He laughs again, louder this time. I didn't know you were so talented. I'm delighted. Turning slightly, the Duke's tone grows proud and certain. You'll become a great, reliable support for Askell one day. Cyan's expression freezes. His eyes widen in disbelief. What? A vision flashes in his mind. Two figures locked in combat. One radiates golden light, clad in divine armor. The other, shrouded in darkness, holds a corrupted blade. Why would I become his helper? The Duke smiles faintly, unaware of Cyan's turmoil. It's the same as always, he's still just as obsessed with Askell as ever. Cyan's hand tightens into a fist on his knee, trembling slightly as anger simmers beneath his calm expression. The Duke smiles warmly, unaware of the storm brewing inside his son. It's not exactly a trophy, but I want to reward you for this duel. If there's something you want, you can tell me. Cyan's eyes darken, his thoughts sharp and cold. Then I'll destroy everything. A shadow crosses his face as a smirk forms. Everything that Askell ever tried to build. I'll tear it all down. Out loud, he says calmly, what I want. Emily screams in shock, her eyes bulging and voice trembling. You said you want to enter the battlefront? Cyan sits casually on the bed, calm as ever. Yeah, that's right. Nothing's certain yet, though. Emily's hands fly to her head as she paces around, panicking. This is driving me crazy. Are you out of your mind? Do you even know what kind of place that is? In her imagination, a dark battlefield unfolds. Grotesque, glowing-eyed beasts surround her. She shrieks in terror. It's swarming with wicked, terrifying demonic beasts all over the place. Narration: Velias, the western feud of the Ushif Empire. The scene shifts to a map showing the borderlands. Narration: This is the only place in the entire continent to be called a battlefront. A marker highlights Limia Valley, the area closest to the demonic lands. Narration: Even within that, the Limia Valley stands as the true front line. The frame darkens into a hellish battlefield. Armored soldiers and demonic beasts clash under a blood-red sky. Narration: A ferocious war zone where humanity has fought demons for hundreds of years without rest. Cyan stands before his father, Duke Willius Vert, who sits at his desk with his back turned. Narration: Because of that, My father, who stubbornly opposed it from the start, gave me a condition. Cyan looks down at his hands, determination in his eyes. Narration. To become worthy of going to Lemia Valley within 1 month. He clenches his fist. I don't know on what basis he'll decide my worth yet. Cyan's gaze sharpens as he tightens his fist. Narration. I just got to raise my physical strength as much as possible in the time I've been given. A faint resolve burns in his expression. I'm still weaker than my peers. Cyan watches the memory of a past fight play out in his mind, eyes sharp with focus. At least I'm lucky enough to have the same combat sense I had before regressing. He sits on the bed, sparks of red mana swirling around his hands. And this little bit of magic I can feel inside me. If I train my body properly, I can make it work. A small grin forms. Great. I'll start training right now. The door bursts open suddenly, panicked and loud. Cyan. Cyan sits on his bed, startled, while Emily stands behind him, frozen in shock. A figure steps forward from the doorway. Cyan's eyes narrow slightly. Wait, that voice. The figure steps fully into the light. A tall woman with sharp eyes and long blue hair. Cyan's eyes widen. Alice. Before he can react, Alice grabs him by the collar, lifting him slightly off the bed. Cyan's mind races. What the hell is she doing here? Alice storms in and immediately grabs Cyan by the collar, shaking him furiously. Emily rushes over, panicking. Cyan, choking. How have you been, Miss Alice? Emily yells, Wah! Are you crazy? Alice's face twists in anger as she lifts Cyan higher. I heard you asked Father to send you to the battlefront. Cyan struggles, gasping. Hey, Alice, let me go first. Emily in the background. Helpless. Help. Alice finally drops him. Cyan collapses, dizzy and out of breath. Alice crosses her arms, scowling. It looks like defeating Krantz got to your head. This won't do. Alice points at Cyan, voice booming with authority. Come with me to the rooftop. The night sky glows faintly over the academy rooftops, sparks flickering in the air. The atmosphere is tense. A storm is brewing. Cyan stands with his sword at his side, breathing steadily as Alice faces him from across the courtyard. She declares firmly, we start when we draw our swords. If you can endure my attacks for 3 minutes, I'll let you go to the battlefront. Cyan exhales, gripping his sword tighter. 3 minutes, that's all I need. Cyan looks at Alice with a mix of disbelief and frustration. Do you really have to go this far, Alice? Alice glares back coldly, her tone cutting through the air. I'm not hearing any of that. Just answer one question. The camera zooms in on her fierce eyes, filled with suspicion and anger. Are you after the family's title? Cyan looks to the side, sweat trickling down his face as realization hits him. That's why she's doing this. I'm not the slightest bit interested in that. Alice, already drawing her sword, glares fiercely. So you are, huh? Draw your sword. Cyan exhales deeply, his exhaustion clear as he pulls his blade free. It hasn't even been half a day since my duel with Krantz. The whole day was chaotic. Alice dashes forward with explosive speed, the ground cracking beneath her feet. Cyan's eyes widen, completely caught off guard. Before he can react, Alice's sword flashes with a burst of power, striking him hard and launching him into the air. Alice's eyes widen in shock as her attack is stopped mid-swing. No way. He blocked that. He's a 10-year-old, though. Cyan grits his teeth, pushing back with determination. Are you really trying to go all out against your brother, who's 7 years younger? Alice leaps back, her expression turning fierce again as she raises her sword high, the air trembling with her power. Alice steadies her stance, her eyes narrowing as she analyzes Cyan's technique. A rapier has a very light blade, yet he cleanly parried off my longsword attack. Her expression shifts into a smirk, her competitive side kicking in. Was he just lucky this time? You've got better intuition than I thought. My dear Cyan. Cyan freezes, sweat rolling down his face as he realizes she's serious now. I'm screwed. Hey, Alice. Alice launches forward, her sword slicing through the air in a blur of light as she closes the distance between them. With flawless form, She twists her body mid-strike, pouring her strength into a powerful overhead slash. Cyan grits his teeth, barely managing to block her blow. Sparks fly on impact as his rapier trembles under the force. Alice's eyes widen in shock as Cyan's rapier grazes her side, the sharp edge cutting through her uniform, a clean, precise strike she didn't see coming. Her pupils dilate in disbelief as a jolt of pain and surprise flashes across her face. Cyan grits his teeth, frustration and adrenaline flashing through his eyes. Damn it! He tightens his grip on the rapier, twisting his wrist to deflect the incoming strike. But Alice's power is overwhelming. Her next attack smashes through his defense, sending him flying back through the air in a burst of force and light. Cyan lands firmly atop the ledge, catching his breath, his body still tense from the clash. He exhales deeply, sweat running down his cheek. Had I not twisted my blade mid-swing, I would have killed her. He grips his sword tighter. Missed swordsmanship, thick fog, was made for killing, not sparring. A dark purple aura flares behind him, the emblem of his deadly style taking shape. He thinks grimly, fighting without killing intent feels almost impossible with this technique. Cyan grits his teeth, sweat rolling down his face. How much time's left? He steadies his trembling hand, channeling faint mana into his blade. I'm compensating for my weak body with mana, but I'm almost at my limit. Across from him, Alice breathes heavily, her eyes sharp and focused. Huff, huff. Earth wind, come to me and act as my sword. Cyan's eyes widen in disbelief as her aura flares violently. 6-star magic. She's serious? Alice launches forward, her blade glowing with a fierce blue aura. Ho! The sword crackles to life. Aqua blade. Cyan's face goes blank, a mix of confusion and disbelief. Is she actually trying to kill me? I thought this was supposed to be a test. Alice's eyes burn with obsession as her magic intensifies. The only thought running through her head, I can't lose. I can't lose. I can't lose. Cyan narrows his eyes. It's over. I can tell just by the look in her eyes. Cyan braces himself on the crumbling wall, glaring up at the massive blue light descending toward him. If I try to block that head-on, I'll be blown clean out of the castle. Determination flashes in his eyes. Then I'll just have to trust that this will work. The impact shakes the entire courtyard as he pushes off the ledge. Debris scatters everywhere. With one swift motion, Cyan channels all his remaining mana into his sword, slashing upward against the torrent of magic. A surge of blue light erupts, his counterattack colliding directly with Alice's aquablade. Cyan clenches his sword tightly, his expression fierce. Please! He channels everything he has left, aura flaring violently. Please come out. Alice swings her glowing aqua blade straight toward him. But just before impact, a blur appears between them. Yulkin steps in, blocking both swords with a thunderous clash. Stop! He shouts, his voice echoing through the courtyard. A massive explosion of blue energy erupts as Yulkin blocks both attacks. The shockwave sends Cyan and Alice flying backward. The blast pierces the sky, lighting up the entire castle with a beam of pure mana. As the dust settles, Yulkin steps forward from the smoke, his expression stern. Miss Alice, he says in a low, commanding tone. He holds Cyan effortlessly with one arm while glaring down at her. You're being too harsh against a much younger opponent. Cyan exhales in relief, a small smirk forming. I was wondering when he was going to appear. Alice gasps, her eyes wide as the realization hits her. Alice rushes over, hugging Cyan tightly. Sorry, Cyan. I must have lost my mind for a second there. Cyan struggles to breathe in her grip while Yulkin watches silently, his stern gaze still fixed on her. Alice breaks down in tears, clutching Cyan tightly. I just wanted to stop you from going to the battlefield. I was too obsessed with that I. Cyan gives a small, tired smile, his voice calm in his thoughts. This is very like her. She always tries so hard with everything. The scene fades to a flashback of a Grand Academy crest shining under sunlight. My sister was the elite of the elites who got an S in all subjects. In the Royal Academy where all the talented children gathered, whether they excelled in swordsmanship, magic, or other fields of study. On top of that, her beauty was astounding, so much that people called her God's child. From a young age, she was trained in swordsmanship. Alice stands gracefully, glowing under the sunlight, surrounded by falling petals. She was mentioned as being the future guardian of the continent, along with the oldest son, Askelvert. A proud and composed Askel stands under the evening sky, his expression calm but determined. But not long after joining the Knights of Light, she was killed. Alice's lifeless body lies surrounded by blood, the memory burning vividly in Cyan's mind. Cyan's hand grips her back tightly as he whispers, voice trembling, I missed you, Alice. I'll protect you this time. Alice freezes, her eyes widening slightly as she hears Cyan's quiet determination. Cyan, she murmurs, confused yet touched. Alice turns toward Yulkin, her voice sharp but composed. Ah, now that I think about it, weren't you the Duke's guardian knight? But the Duke just left for the war. Yulkin sighs, scratching the back of his head. I'm carrying out the Duke's orders to protect the young master for a while. Although I couldn't tell you, because I was supposed to carry that out in secret. Cyan smirks to himself, thinking silently. I felt his presence ever since I left the Duke's office. Would he not have shown himself if I continued to ignore him? Cyan's thoughts swirl. But why did Father tell Yulkin to secretly protect me? Cyan suddenly goes limp in Alice's arms. Oh! Alice gasps, realizing he's fallen asleep mid-hug. Zizi! Alice looks down at him, her expression softening into a faint smile. You really are still just a kid, she whispers gently, her eyes warm with relief. Under the starry night sky, Alice glances back toward the mansion with a soft smile. He's still like a little kid, she murmurs fondly before walking away. The next day, Alice returned to the academy. Cyan's voice echoes through his room as he trains relentlessly. Apparently, she had come back just for a bit to see Father before her graduation, his thoughts narrate. He struggles through his push-ups, sweat dripping. 9, he grits out, determination burning in his eyes. Cyan's arms tremble as sweat drips down onto the floor. TNNN, he shouts, pushing himself to the limit. I felt that I needed to become stronger, so I've been focusing on strength training for the past 2 weeks. He collapses face first, gasping for air. Huff, huff. But 10 is my limit. I've only been hitting a wall for the past 2 weeks. Cyan wipes his sweat, looking frustrated but determined. I was pretty confident in my strength. He glances toward the window, lost in thought. I need a solution. Emily rushes in nervously, holding a small package. Why, young master? A package arrived from Miss Alice. Cyan's face lights up. Really? He says eagerly. Emily opens the package, immediately gagging and covering her nose. What's this? It smells so disgusting. Cyan looks calm, explaining, it's a hellhound's blood that I asked her to get for me. A fiery beast flashes in Cyan's memory as he examines the bottle. It's a rare item that can only be found in Lemia Valley. He smirks slightly, but I guess the rumors that it's sold in the black market were true. Cyan pours the thick, dark red liquid into a bowl. The stench fills the room. The blood of demonic beasts is considered poisonous because of its sickening smell and the burning sensation it causes upon consumption. But a silhouette wreathed in flames flexes with overwhelming power. It actually permanently increases the mana and strength of the person who consumes it. Most people think it's just a false rumor. Cyan grins, holding the bowl confidently while Emily panics behind him, pale and trembling. But I know that it's true from my past life's experience. Why, young master? Are you really going to drink that? She stammers. Yeah, Cyan replies calmly. Don't worry, Emily. Cyan takes a sip from his bowl, acting calm as steam rises. I'm the only person who is able to adapt to your cooking skills. He smirks slightly, reminiscing. I can still remember the first time. A memory flashes, a horrifying purple sludge of soup that looks alive. Was it mushroom soup? My heart stopped for a moment after a single bite of that thing. Compared to that soup, this is... Cyan slams the empty bowl down hard on the table. BM. His eyes sharp and burning with determination. Cyan's eyes go wide. His pupils spiral as steam bursts from his mouth. "It's good," he shouts, tears and sweat flying everywhere. In the background, Emily covers her mouth, pale and queasy. Still shaking from the heat and energy surging through him. Cyan grips the table, steam rising from his body. "Emily," he calls out sharply. Emily jumps, startled. "Why, yes." A close-up of Cyan's glowing red eyes, now burning with power and confidence. "I'm gonna go for a walk," he says with a smirk. "Now let's see if that worked." Cyan's shoes press into the dirt path, dust scattering as he walks forward with purpose. He stops and looks out toward the distant castle, sunlight cutting through the clouds. "It's been a while since I came here. I've been waiting for this day for the last 2 weeks." Cyan straightens his vest, expression calm yet sharp. The moment when Yulkin is not here for his regular reports. He exhales, gazing into the horizon. "I came to this place often when I wanted to be alone." Cyan walks through the forest path, sunlight filtering between the trees. Askell received a divine revelation from the god of light, Lumendal. He mutters, where was it again? It said that an ancient temple is hidden somewhere in these mountains. He crouches, touching the ground, eyes scanning the faint traces of mana. I didn't really fully believe it, but there was really a place where the flow of mana was concentrated. He smirks slightly. "Looks like it's around here." Of course, the divine revelation has yet to come. Cyan's hand ignites with red energy, his eyes glowing fiercely. "So only I know about this right now." Cyan slams his hand into the ground, crimson energy bursting outward like a shockwave. The red aura tears through the earth, scattering debris as the power surges violently. A close-up of Cyan's face, a sharp grin spreading under glowing eyes. "Askell, I bet you can't even imagine what I'm doing right now." The ground splits open before him, revealing a glowing staircase descending into the earth. Cyan stands at the edge, shadows dancing over his face. He smirks and mutters, "Let's go." Cyan descends a cracked stone staircase deep within the mountain, the echo of his footsteps bouncing off the jagged walls. It's different from the last time I was here. The narration continues as ancient energy pulses faintly through the stone. This place, a faded mural appears, angels battling dark beasts under divine light, was an ancient temple that served the god of light, Lumendal, until all of the history on this land was erased. Cyan descends the last few steps, staring in awe as the massive underground temple reveals itself, glowing ruins and divine symbols etched into the walls. Because of the god-demon war that happened 300 years ago. He looks up, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Who could have ever imagined that this place existed in the mountains just behind the castle? A blinding light radiates from a sword floating above an altar, illuminating the ancient chamber. Cyan's eyes narrow in focus. I can see it. The divine sword hovers midair, radiating pure golden light. Its surface gleams with ancient symbols. The owner of this temple. The scene shifts to an ancient battlefield. The words 999 before foundation, August 12th appear over the sky like a faded record of time. Armored demons march through smoke and fire as human soldiers clash desperately in the distance. Humanity finally succeeds in driving out the Demon King's army from Velius. The Demon King's army was far stronger than the humans. Golden light shines over relics, a sword, pendant, and scripture suspended in divine energy. But the humans found ancient relics called the gods' weaponry, allowing them to take the win. The holy sword glows intensely, radiating sacred symbols. One of those relics, Duran Dark, was a holy sword blessed by the god of light, Lumendal. This sword was deemed the main cause of humanity's victory against the demons. The scene fades to a memory of a blinding battle, the sword cleaving through a dark figure. and I will meet my pitiful death in the future, due to this sword, which will be possessed by Askelvert. Cyan stands before the glowing sword, eyes fixed on it. Perhaps Durandark has something to do with my regression. He slowly reaches out and places his hand on the sword's hilt. The divine energy flickers faintly, but doesn't react. He exhales and lowers his gaze, frustration hidden under calm eyes. As expected, nothing's happening. Cyan kicks the pedestal holding the sword, his patience running out. Move. The divine blade doesn't even budge. He glares at it, clearly annoyed. That ruined my mood. Holy sore my ass. Then mutters under his breath. Let's just take care of business and then leave. He walks past the glowing light, his eyes catching a faint red glow hidden deeper in the ruins. Once you walk past the light, there's a shadow that feels rather otherworldly. Found it. Cyan kneels, staring at a glowing red silhouette beneath the holy sword. At first glance, you might think it's the sword's shadow. He narrows his eyes, realization dawning. But that's impossible. This is no shadow. The crimson energy writhes like living smoke, spreading across the floor as Cyan places his hands near it. Where there is light, there must be darkness too. A dark staircase extends into the abyss, illuminated faintly by red energy. It's a pathway. Cyan kneels before the glowing red mark, watching as the light forms a connection downward. That leads to another room, hidden by the altar of light. He pushes open a heavy door, peering cautiously inside with a sharp, focused look. Cyan steps into the hidden chamber, eyes locking onto a crimson blade resting on a pedestal. It's nice to see you. He grips the hilt tightly, a dark smirk forming. My sword. A surge of demonic energy explodes around him as red flames swirl violently. Demonic sword Kiram. Cyan's grip tightens around the hilt as the sword pulses with a fierce crimson light, energy swirling wildly. He smirks, eyes glowing red to match the sword's aura. Good morning, Kiram. He swings the blade through the air, testing its weight as red arcs of energy slice through the room. Are you still not awake yet? Cyan hugs his demonic sword with a dreamy grin. Cool. This familiar feeling. It's the best. I want to slay something right now. A chilling laugh echoes as dark silhouettes with glowing eyes emerge from the shadows. Kikikik. Child, don't you have any fear? Cyan raises an eyebrow, twirling the blade casually as it hums with energy. Don't you know what it means to have awoken me? He smirks. I don't know. It means this sword is now mine. A massive shadow looms over Cyan, its voice echoing through the temple, waking up a sleeping demonic sword. The creature's razor grin stretches wide. It's too late to regret it now, child. Dark energy surges, spiraling toward Cyan. Your body is now mine. Cyan is grabbed by a surge of demonic energy, his body jolting. Caw-caw. The demon's form twists into something humanoid, eyes blazing. You weren't this rash before. Cook, what are you? Cyan glares, his crimson eyes gleaming as his mouth curls into a grin. How can you touch me? He leans forward, voice cold and steady. I told you, this sword is mine. Kiram's hand twists with demonic energy, sharp magenta claws bursting from her fingers as she glares furiously. She roars and swings her arm with explosive force. F******* off. The air splits with the impact as her attack crashes toward Cyan. But Cyan's counter sends her flying backward, slamming into the stone wall as debris scatters around her. Kiram staggers back, her claws trembling as she stares wide-eyed at Cyan. Who are you? She demands, her voice shaking with both fear and rage. Cyan stands firm, dark crimson flames twisting around him. His eyes glow ominously as Kiram's voice echoes. Are you the successor? Kiram narrows her eyes, sensing something familiar in his aura. Why do I feel Eru's aura from you? Cyan smirks slightly. Right, I'm the successor of Eru. Cyan grins darkly, his red eyes gleaming with confidence. Your master's back. Bow down. Kiram growls, her expression twisted in fury as she clenches her teeth. Demonic sword, Kirim, Cyan taunts, the words echoing with dominance. Kirim snarls back, "You're just a kid." Their blades clash in a storm of light and shadow as Kirim screams, "I can't accept this." The entire room shakes from the force of their collision. Cyan blocks Kirim's strike with his sword, eyes sharp. "I guess words won't do," he thinks. His grip tightens. The demonic sword's final goal is to take over the body of the user. Kirim growls, fury mixing with hesitation. "I have no choice." Her claws crackle with dark energy. She lunges forward with blinding speed, blades of crimson aura slicing through the air. Cyan smirks mid-fight. "I'll go a bit easy." Cyan smirks, the corner of his lips curling as dark energy begins to pulse from his hand. A cold, commanding voice echoes in his mind. Demonic sword control. The air trembles, crimson light wrapping around his blade like living flame. Kirim is hurled back violently, crashing into the stone floor with a roar of pain. "Quack!" she screams, her body flickering between solid and shadow, as Cyan stands tall, gripping his sword with complete dominance. Cyan glares down coldly, his voice low and confident. "I'll say this just once. Why don't you just accept me as your owner while I'm still being nice?" Kirim struggles to stand, fury twisting her expression as shadows coil around her. "How can you use that? Eek, you arrogant little." Cyan raises his hand slightly, power crackling around him. Demonic sword control. Kirim slams into the ground again with a loud quack as dark energy ripples through the hall. Cyan repeats calmly, his tone sharp and commanding. Demonic sword control. The room trembles as dark energy responds to his every word. He looks down at Kirim, who's barely holding herself up, trembling in defiance. "How about now?" he asks coldly. Kirim gasps, her pride breaking. "I'll accept human." Cyan smirks, starting to speak again. Demonic sword con. Kirim quickly interrupts, bowing her head. "Master." The heavy temple doors creak open, shadows slipping out like whispers in the dark. Cyan's voice echoes softly. "Now that I've done what I wanted to do here." He walks away calmly, demonic aura trailing behind him like smoke. "Shall I get back? I've been gone for too long." Kirim's voice hums faintly from the blade, amused and free. "Ah, it's been so long since I breathed fresh air." Cyan glances at the sword, a faint smirk forming, his new power finally secured. Kirim's spirit bursts out of the sword, spinning wildly with a manic grin. "Ah, it's so refreshing," she laughs, her pink flames flaring with excitement. She floats behind Cyan, eyes gleaming with curiosity. Hey, master. What's your name?" Cyan glances back calmly. "Cyan. Cyan Vert." Kirim tilts her head, expression twisting in disbelief. "Cyan? Never heard of that name before." Her tone sharpens. "Eru really chose a kid like you?" Cyan's voice is calm but steady. "Yeah, in my past life." Kirim freezes mid-float, her fiery form flickering. "Past life? What the hell are you talking about?" Cyan keeps walking, unbothered. "I died once before." Kirim stares at him, her eyes wide with disbelief. "What the hell?" she mutters, suspicious and curious all at once. Kirim floats beside Cyan, eyeing the massive sword glowing faintly in golden light. "He's still sleeping?" "Huh," she mutters. Cyan looks down at the blade with a calm expression. He'll have to wait 20 more years for his owner. Kirim narrows her fiery eyes, hovering closer. "You talk like you know the future." Cyan's grip tightens on his demonic sword, eyes focused. In a flash of motion, his blade slices clean through the golden sword, Duran dark, splitting in half. Kirim's eyes widen in shock as she watches Cyan approach the golden sword's remains. "What are you going to do with that?" she shouts, panic creeping in her tone. Cyan smirks, his eyes glowing red as he grips the shattered relic. "Who knows, maybe," he says, his voice low and ominous, "that I'll make things a bit more interesting in the future."